Welcome to the Ravenswood City School District Regular Board Meeting of June 22nd, 2023. The meeting is now called to order at 6:32 p.m. I will begin with roll call. Trustee Alexander is running late. Trustee Shabomahin. Here. Trustee Latu is absent. Trustee Nunez. Here. And I myself, Jenny Bloom, am present. We have quorum. We'll move on to item number 2, which is the approval of the agenda. Do we have any questions or comments regarding the agenda?
Through the chair, I'd like to pull item 7P and then popcorn.
Thank you. And then for item 7C, we are going to table that as well. So I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda with item 7C tabled and item 7P pulled.
I move to approve the agenda with item 7C tabled and item 7P pulled. I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. All right, we will now move on to closed session. Do we have any members of the public who would like to address anything that is agendized for closed session? As I see none, I will adjourn to closed session at 6:34 p.m. We will return approximately at 7:15. Thank you.
En 2019, el aprendizaje Summit fue adoptada para la plataforma de matemáticas del sexto al octavo grado. Mientras que esta plataforma obtenía los programas, los usos de los grados 6, sexto al octavo de los programas de matemáticas, el currículum actual es llamado matemática ilustrativa. En los años 2021, 22 y 22-23, los maestros de matemáticas de grado sexto a octavo usaron el currículum de matemática ilustrativa y quieren que oficialmente se adopte este programa como nuestro currículum de matemática. Criterio de análisis del currículo
Check,
piloto.
check, check.
Y culturalmente receptivo. Culturalmente receptivo.
No, this one is
Check, check.
We are now back from closed session and we are starting open session at 8 p.m. For the record, trustee Alexander joined us at 6:36 p.m. So we are going to move on to the reports of action taken in closed session. So we have for item number 3A, action was taken 4-0 to non-reelect a probationary 0 teacher. For item number 3B, there was discussion, no action. We will now return to open session. And we are on item number, we've been back. So we are on item number 6 now from the floor. The board sits as a hearing body. So if there are any comments that are not agendized, as I see none, comments or questions from the public that are not agendized, now is the time. And as I see none, I will move on to item number 7, which is the consent agenda. So we tabled item 7C, and then we will discuss item 7P as trustee Chabot-Maheen recuses herself. So item 7P is a consideration to approve the MOU with Street Code Academy to provide training and tech support to Ravenswood families. I will entertain a motion to pass item number 7 or to approve item number 7P.
Through the chair, I'll make a motion to approve item 7.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. I think trustee Alexander said aye as well. So item number 7P carries 3-0 with trustee Chabot-Maheen abstaining and trustee Latu absent. So we can have her come back. We will now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda without item 7C or 7P. I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the agenda, the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries 4-0. We will now move on to item number 8, which is the consideration to approve the TK5 ELA ELD curriculum pilot.
Through the chair, our assistant superintendent had led a TK5 ELA ELD adoption pilot. Our current curriculum for TK5 ELA ELD, the 8-year cycle has expired, and we embarked on a pilot this year, not just because of the expiration of this curriculum, but also we wanted to make sure the curriculum that we want to be able to use as a tool to instruct students in reading is aligned to the science of reading. And through collaboration of several representation of staff across 3 of our elementary schools, which, Solomon, if you don't mind going to slide 11, you'll be able to see the members who participated on this pilot. There you go. And so there's representation from all 3 elementary schools. And there was a timeline that they had followed on slide 9. And you can see it there in terms of just getting information about the pilot process, information about the curriculum that we did decide to pilot, and also this notion around the Common Core standards, not the notion, Common Core standards and the science of reading. And then additionally, there was analysis that the team did using some criteria on slide 10 to do their analysis of determining which curriculum they would want to pursue and why. And as a result, if we can go towards the end, Solomon, to find the results, I believe it's slide 17. Oh, one before that. There you go. After taking vote, the participants indicated that they would like to pursue CKLA for the adoption of their K5 ELA ELD curriculum. And there were some that still wanted to pursue EL, expedition learning. But the consensus is to move with CKLA CKLA. For TK, there will be a pilot in the 23-24 school year. And then our Spanish dual immersion will work closely with our Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning and our Assistant Director of Teaching and Learning to support Los Robles Ronald McNair around that curriculum, and they will be presenting that at the top of the school year next year. And so the recommendation is for the board to approve the adoption of CKLA.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from the board?
I have a question through the chair. So the CKLA curriculum is English only.
Yes. You know what? Can I clarify that? Do we know if it's? Don't have it off the top of my head if it's English only, but I do know if we look under. No, but is it English only? Like, is it offered? Okay. Thank you.
Through the chair, did we, just out of curiosity, look at any curriculums that had the same curriculum both in English and in Spanish for use with the dual immersion school?
So what we wanted to do was use, based on, if you don't mind, Solomon, going to slide 16. There was no current curricula that was rated high from the ed report. And so at this time, as I mentioned, the school site Spanish dual immersion is going to work closely with our instructional leadership team to work through this curriculum development.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, and there are no questions or comments from the public regarding this item, so I will entertain a motion to approve the TK5 ELA ELD curriculum pilot.
Through the chair, I'll make a motion to approve item number 8.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. We will now move on to item number 9, which is the presentation on the 6 through 8 mathematics curriculum pilot.
Great. And so for this item, I am asking board for direction. You know, the middle school in 2019 was using Summit Learning as their adopted curriculum for mathematics, which was the platform they used for 6th through 8th grade. It hosted a math program that the middle school has been using, and that is illustrative mathematics. And over the last couple of years, 21-22 school year and the 23-24 school year, 22-23 school year, the teachers have been using this Kendall Hunt illustrative math curriculum and want to officially adopt this program as their math curriculum. So they're not going to do an individual pilot. This curriculum also is aligned to Sequoia Unified High School District. And there's other criteria, I think, listed on slide. And please excuse my lack of fluency in this presentation as our assistant superintendent is not able to be with us today for a family emergency, put it together. Yes, so thank you, Solomon. Slide 9. So here we would just like board direction to continue utilizing illustrative math as our next agenda item is to approve curriculum adoption and our curriculum in general for 23-24 in preparation for Williams instructional materials list.
Any questions or comments and direction from the board?
Through the chair, I have a question.
Yes.
That's okay. Could you clarify for me the difference between illustrative mathematics and Kindle Hunt?
It's
Illustrative math,
they're the same.
they're the
It's the
same.
full name.
It's the full name. And so, and then also while we've adopted Summit Learning as a platform and it uses this curriculum, I'm wondering why we need to adopt the program as the math curriculum. It's what's,
We're no longer partnering with Summit.
okay, so we're letting that, got it. Thank you for that clarity. Through the chair.
Yes.
I know that it was, we use this curriculum in high school level as well. And it's a lot of reading, words, and literacy in math through this curriculum, and so I just want to make sure, or my question is, what support are teachers getting in terms of adapting it for students?
I think actually we'll see some results that will indicate that students have done really well in terms of 6th and 8th grade specifically and making their typical growth using this data, using this curriculum. But we also have an instructional coach who was a teacher as well and who supported teachers. And this teacher is going to be a full-time STEAM coach and will be able to support the teachers in utilizing this curriculum. Yeah.
All right. Any other, I think that I will, so I think we need to come to a consensus on direction. The direction is to continue because this is what the students have been doing and the teachers have been doing, and there will be additional support with the STEAM coach that's coming on as well. So just, I saw shaking of heads, so I'm gonna, yes. Okay.
And then I just have one question. I think based on how it goes 6 through 8, is there potential for it to go down? Because I know they have kindergarten.
So I do know that our teaching and learning team do want to evaluate our K-5 or TK-5 math curriculum. And so we'll be looking at that next year.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Great.
Whether it is illustrative math or not, we'll do an official pilot.
So I think that we have direction, and then we will be voting to approve in the next item as well. So
Thank you.
thank you. So we will move on to item number 10, which is the consideration to approve the Williams instructional materials list for 2023-2024.
Yes, and before you have the list of all the curriculum for every grade level. And so we are asking the board for approval as we can then present this in preparation to ensure that we have the curriculum for the school year.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve item number 10, the Williams instructional materials list for 2023-2024.
I'll make a motion to approve item 10.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. All opposed? Motion carries 4-0. We will move on to item number 11, which is the 2023 June LCAP local control indicators and vital signs update.
Wonderful. We're excited to present to you again what you just said. This is our third presentation of our vital signs. It will cover our progress this year in looking after our students' educational health and their overall well-being. We've been working hard to create a system that helps us keep track of how they're doing in school with their peers and staff and how they feel in general. We've introduced the vital signs monitoring system at the start of the year, and it's allowed us to regularly check important things that show how well our students are doing. It helps us understand what's going well and what challenges they might be facing, highlighting the root causes of our student outcomes. Now that we have all this information, it's time to come up with an updated plan to support our students even better. And so we'll use what we've learned to create district-wide, school-wide, classroom and personalized strategies that will make sure students have everything they need to succeed. We are excited and excited about just developing some next steps. And we're going to be working together to make sure our students have a great time in school, perform well across subjects, make wonderful friends, and more importantly, feel joyful and confident. And so we would have our executive team here represented by Jennifer Grabham, our Executive Director of Educational Services, our Chief Strategy Officer, Dr. Selena McCrae, and our Assistant Data and Assessment Coordinator, Austin Batson. So next slide, thank you. In order to achieve our goals, all Ravenswood staff must embrace and execute on the 6 strategic priorities that we developed during our strategic plan. To ensure we are making progress on these priorities in support of our ultimate goals, we have developed a district report card to track key outcomes, measures on each priority throughout the year. We've seen those before, those 6 priorities. And based on our strategic plan, the overarching goals for the district this year And to reiterate, are these broad goals where we want students to be powerful readers and writers who use literacy across content areas to make meaning and share their ideas. And in math, we want students to see themselves as mathematicians and use their skills, a deep understanding of content and strong practices in their learning and work. And then develop their sense of belonging. We want students and staff to feel safe feel safe at school, connected to and trust the school community, providing them with agency and a sense of belonging. And we'll hand it over to our Executive Director of Ed Services, Jennifer Grabham.
Thank you. One of the things, as I'm sure you all are aware of, is we have several plans, and it's really important to us to ensure that all of our plans are anchored in the same goals. And so you'll see that not only is this our report card, our vital signs, but also LCAP local indicators. The local indicators you're familiar with seeing from the California dashboard, these are the priorities right here, priority areas. These are the available indicators on the dashboard. And on the next few slides, we're going to share how we are doing in terms of our local indicators here. So you'll see this slide lined up around the state priority, the categories, the results, and whether we've met our target. So teachers assigned appropriately 100% of target. Access to curriculum materials, 100% of that target has been met. Having safe, clean, and functional schools, you can see there are some areas of repair that we know about. Implementation of state academic standards. We are at full implementation, and course access. All of our students have access to grade level appropriate courses. Here is parent involvement. You'll see it broken down into two sections here, beginning development and initial development. And we're at full implementation, but we wanted to really identify what is in the beginning stages versus initial implementation. And then school climate, which we'll go into further on future slides. This is the percent of students who feel safe at school. The results, as measured by our survey, was 60%, and our target is 80%.
Hello, Austin Batson, Data and Assessment Coordinator. So this is just a little bit of a preview slide that connects our local indicators with all of our other data, satellite map level indicators, street level indicators as well. I'm not going to go too much into this data right now because we're going to cover it in different slides. But one of our goals in this upcoming year as we design new LCAPs is to align these vital signs with our LCAP goals. And so that's why we're putting these right here, just kind of start that linking process. But we will go into all of these pieces of data further in the presentation.
It's so tall. All right, so our academic health, and as you know, we've been talking about our vital signs. This is the academic health section for our district: English language arts, math, language development, and standards alignment. Many of us are familiar with the MTSS tier. We look at the MTSS tier, social emotional, as well as academic. What we should be seeing is addressing at tier 1, 80 to 90% of our students. Where we are at now is our triangle is, for lack of a better term, out of whack. Our triangle isn't right sized, and we need to right size our triangle. In order to do that, our focus is going to remain on the goals that Superintendent Sidaria mentioned at the top of the presentation, but really fine tuning that effort to focus in on teams, time, and tiers. So these 3 tiers are going to be a focal point of what we continue to anchor back on, ensuring that we are addressing the needs at the appropriate levels with the appropriate strategies, whether it's academic or behavioral. Our focus in on teams is ensuring that there's collaboration amongst staff and cyclical conversations. Our time is really intentional and focused, and that we are focused very intentionally on the appropriate instruction at the appropriate tiers, inclusive of ILTs, PLCs, instructional leadership teams, professional learning communities, coordination of services teams, and positive behavior intervention and support. So you're going to hear a lot about the 3 T's and really honing that focus around our goals. Our goals remain constant, with all of our students being literate by 3rd grade, all of our students being numerate by 3rd grade, and all of our students feeling a strong sense of belonging. We feel those goals remain true, and we feel that we can really attain those goals with a focus on time, tiers, and teams. Thank you.
So this is the first of our academic indicators for the year, and this shows our English language arts, our ELA, iReady growth scores from across the district. Just for a quick recap, our progress towards typical growth in ELA and reading was 105%, which means that our median student, the student right in the middle of Ravenswood, made 105% of their typical growth. Half of our Ravenswood students grew more than that, and half of our Ravenswood students grew less than that. In terms of placement, we had 7% of our students across the district at or above grade level, and 9% of students in that grade level. So not grade level proficient, but they are in that grade level band, which we're considering on target, and that's iReady also considers them on target. Looking forward to our action steps, we have, as the board just approved, new curriculum for ELA, ELD. We are looking to train all TK to 8 teachers using SIPs for Tier 2 ELA foundational support. And we're looking to create a clear vision for that early literacy in TK. We want to continue to implement ELA and ELD curriculum in 6th to 8th grade. I do have more information on the breakdown of this, but we're going to keep going into math right now. So similarly, these are our results from the mathematics iReady, presented very similarly. Our typical progress to growth in math was 86%. So we did not make our district goal of 100%. Half, again, to reiterate, half of our students grew more than 86%, and half of our students grew less than 86%. Looking at our students' grade level placement, 2% of students were at or above grade level, and 7% of students were that early on grade level. Our action steps moving forward are to continue to build teacher capacity in inquiry-based mathematics, form a TK5 mathematics adoption committee, and continue to use ST Math, which is a engaging, personalized learning math software, math program that was rolled out this year, and use that as a foundational numeracy and conceptual builder. Looking at our English language development, we successfully administered the LPAC this year, and we have some preliminary LPAC results in from students who took it this year. Currently, this is going to change a little bit. We have 11% of our students who took the LPAC, so that's 76 students who scored a 4. And that is a huge achievement. We are really, really proud of them, and we're proud of our teachers and our staff members who put over nearly 600 hours into individually testing students. That's one-on-one testing. Last year, for comparison, we had around 9% of students on the LPAC score a 4. So again, this is not our full students results in yet, but I believe it's really indicative of what we're expecting. Looking forwards, we are going to continue prioritizing reclassification of students who score a 4 on the LPAC, especially those rising 9th graders. If they scored a 4, we want to make sure that they have all the opportunities to reclassify before they enter high school. We're going to continue to offer multiple opportunities to meet that basic skills reclassification requirement, and we're going to streamline the teacher recommendation and parent consultation pieces of the reclassification process. Additionally, we're going to continue to build teacher capacity in that designated and integrated ELD.
Do we want to just pause for questions since I know we're moving into belonging? So is there any questions or comments from the board?
Yeah, I have a question about the last slide.
Mhm.
So I know that we generally, you'll reclassify RFEP, well, hopeful RFEP students, would they have a 4 plus, 4 on the English test, the LPAC, plus, meeting grade level, plus writing sample, plus, generally the teacher recommendation. And also, are we taking, the CASP test into consideration for reclassification?
Great question. The CASP test is one way in which students can meet that basic skill reclassification. This year, there were 3 ways to do it, and CASP was one out of those 3 ways.
Do we ever, at what grade level can we reclassify kids when they have a 3 on the LCAP?
Currently, we cannot reclassify a student who scored a 3 on the LPAC unless they have an IEP and their IEP team comes to the decision that their learning disability, and this graphic can correct me on this, their learning disability is impacting their English development ability, and it's not a language skill. I think this graphic can probably clarify that a little better than I can.
That's something unique to Ravenswood?
No, but I've been telling everybody about it.
I have not heard that from my previous
Yes.
districts, and
It's common to have not heard that, but you are able to reclassify students through the IEP process,
okay,
and your district just has to have a plan by which they assess that. So we have a system and a guide that we use, a protocol that we use to reflect each student's IEP every year. We consider reclassification, because if the underlying reason for the score on the LPAC is their disability, we can, as an IEP team, reclassify them, and then we have a set of paperwork. So in that sense, a student technically could have a 1, but if the team believes the reason for the 1 on the LPAC is due to their underlying disability, the IEP team can reclassify them. And we have definitely created that process last year and have been implementing it very strongly this year with a hyper focus on our 8th graders, but for all of our students.
well, go Ravenswood. For people who might not understand that the single biggest factor that impedes students from passing the LPAC is the reading and the writing domains. Single biggest factor. Kids can be perfectly fluent verbally and not pass it because they have a reading disability or because their reading is behind when they should have been reclassified. The reason I'm asking about the 3 versus 4 is TKK1, if they still need to have a 4. Okay, thank you.
So just to clarify, we're calling the process where a student reclassifies through their IEP as an individualized reclassification, which is separate than the traditional, which is also separate than the alternative reclassification for a student who takes the alternate LPAC.
Right.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And again, go Ravenswood for following the what's best for students, practice that is best for students.
We're happy to take down every gate that's keeping anybody anywhere. And I've been shopping that one around the county. All right. Sense of belonging. So again, here, looking at the triangle, our triangle is again not flipped in the right direction. And so we're really thinking about teams, time, and tiers as well when we look at our student survey, our suspension rates, and our absenteeism rates. So here's our student survey results by category. As requested by the board, we had a stronger system in place to be able to ensure many more of our students were able to take the survey. So we have a lot of data that we think is reflective of what's happening within our schools. 60% of our students have shared that they feel safe at school. 67% of students have a supportive relationship with adults, and 86% of students feel connected to their school. 49% reported engagement, and 46% reported that they felt like their school was culturally reflective of who they are. So our action steps, focusing on those tiers. We are not waiting for action next year. We actually started action today. All of our site teams have begun the process of creating a 6-week Tier 1 culture and climate plan, in which there will be a lesson plan for every day for the first 6 weeks that is anchored in positive behavior intervention and supports that's around explicitly teaching rules, expectations, and core values, not only a plan for our students, but a plan for creating community with our families as well as with our staff. This summer, a colleague and I are attending restorative justice training and are hoping to be RJ trainers by the end of summer so we can fully train our teams on the restorative justice process. In terms of team and time, we have 2 new teams that we are putting into the system that we felt like was very much missing. Our district MTSS team and our assistant principals meetings. So our district MTSS team will be meeting twice a month. It will be made up of some of our TOSAs, our mental health providers, our LCSW and LMFTs, as well as maybe an interventionist from each of our sites. And we will come together as a team, reflect on what's going on at our respective schools, cross-share, and then implement. And we will also be doing culture visits to look at what's going on at each of our sites and cross-sharing what is going on very well. Also, we will be revitalizing our assistant principal meetings monthly with similar topics to ensure that cross-district, everybody is on the same page and we are implementing what's great at each of our sites everywhere and learning from one another. Out of school suspension. So we still have some areas of need with our students with special needs. They are 3.6% over what our target hoped to be. And our Black African American students are 9.6% points over where our target is to be. And again, our target is that there is no discrepancy down this row. So what we should see, well, the hope overall is 2.4, but the real hope is that this is the same no matter what specified group you are from. Again, this goes back to that PBIS reset where we're very clear and explicit about teaching expectations, but also honoring students and seeing who they are. Our coordination of services teams meetings is another thing we have in place this year and hope to refine and retool that going into next year. And very explicitly doing a listening campaign with our students with special needs and our Black African American students and hearing from them what it is they need from us. Again, that assistant principal and MTSS meeting will be huge, as well as school visits to see what it looks like and feels like at each of our schools and to be better tomorrow than we were yesterday. Absenteeism. Chronically absent means missing 10% of the school year. So what that translates to is 18 out of 180 days. Most student groups, except for Pacific Islander, met or beat the attendance targets that were set at the end of 22-23 based on what we knew at the end of 21-22. We don't see super significant disparity amongst groups here. We do see some disparity, but not really significant. Our next steps here is really identifying the underlying need for each individual family and circumstance. This is one of those situations where the broad information tells us about a problem, but each family is unique and different, and we need to meet their needs. So we had our first SARB resource fair at the end of this year, and we're looking forward to having those preset all next year so that when a family is chronically absent, we figure out what it is that they need help, and we have the help here available for them, as well as targeted plans for students having tier 2 and tier 3 attendance needs very early on. And that PBIS reset, the more fun and engaging school is, the more everybody is going to want to be here.
Through the chair,
Yes.
I have a question. On that slide. Is this saying that overall 51% of our population has chronic absenteeism?
Overall.
Okay, what is
That was the baseline.
okay?
That was at the end of 21-22. In November, it was 36%. In March, 42, and in June, 40%.
Okay, so we're saying that 40% of all students have missed 10% or more of school.
Yes.
Just making sure I understood that correctly. Thank you.
Yeah. And there are significant differences between 18 days and 100. A student who's missed 18 days, you could get the flu a couple times and, COVID is still going around. That's one issue. You could also be missing significant amounts of school for very differing issues that have underlying needs that we may not be able to control just through school, and we need
Right.
other resources to help. So yeah,
When you have absenteeism rates this high, it directly is reflected in what our scores are.
Yeah.
And our reclassification.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Just to add a little bit of context to that, last year when our baseline was 51% for chronic absenteeism, the state was at 30%. And so we're still above the state, which is not where we want to be at all, but it was abnormally inflated for all districts across the state. And we felt that and heard that in meetings with other districts in the county as well.
Okay, so good evening. This year in the Strategy, Talent, and Engagement Division, we had a centralized focus on communication, collaboration, and consistency. And that's something that we're going to continue to focus on into the next school year. On a talent front, we aim to recruit and retain highly effective and diverse staff members. And part of our recruiting effective team members is realized through our implementation of the new principal selection process. This process involved and centered the voices and feedback from community, staff, and students, and led to 100% admin fill rate at the end of the school year. Another initiative we implemented as part of our early recruitment strategy was leveraging our partnership with the Early Childhood Collaborative to help identify and recruit early educators with a pipeline program through Reach University. And as a related aside, we are pleased to announce that all of our TK classrooms are fully staffed with teachers. And while recruitment is important, we realize that retention of highly effective and diverse staff is too. So several members of the leadership team conducted a district-wide listening campaign in order to learn more about the experiences of team members across the district. And our goal was to create space where every team member felt heard and valued. We will continue to pursue workforce development initiatives in our staff recruitment. And we will also conduct a culture and climate survey more than once in the school year so that we have some baseline data and we have multiple attempts of collecting that information. And we will intentionally plan by incorporating feedback from the staff listening campaign that we conducted this school year. On the family engagement side, we were able to increase the number of families who participated in the survey from 157 families in the fall to 220 in the spring. And the increase in number is largely driven by the in-person canvassing efforts that were done by central office and Bay Ed Fund staff. We took iPads to sites and approached families directly during morning drop-off and afternoon pickup at each site. And fortunately, we were able to report that 81% of families feel that they have a good relationship with their teacher. That's up from 76% in the fall. Of course, we want to continue to increase that. And we will continue to synthesize and reflect on the family survey results in order to inform our upcoming engagement and outreach efforts for the 23-24 school year. In fact, we will start to plan out our community engagement efforts tomorrow because we will be identifying the key action steps and measures for success. And so that planning work starts tomorrow. We're looking forward to it. And then finally, while the percentage of families that are very likely to recommend Ravenswood to others increased from 64 to 67%, we want that number to be higher as well. So our whole strategic planning process for the upcoming school year does and will prioritize the inclusion of families and the community as co-creators. Thank you.
So just coming to an end of our presentation, I wanted to emphasize that our student level goals will be supported by our teacher and our leadership practices. And so you, again, want to focus on our three broad goals here where we want our students to be literate by third grade, numerate by third grade, and then obviously have a strong sense of belonging. And just considering our mission, where we want every student to fully engage critically and creatively in their education, with the skills and mindsets necessary to successfully fulfill their unique potential. We want teachers to work in professional learning communities to internalize the standards and curriculum and design tier 1 instructional experiences. Keep in mind of that triangle. We want majority of our students to benefit from tier 1 instruction versus tier 3 supports. We want teachers to internalize the purpose of standards and tasks within the lesson unit and prepare for frequent student talk opportunities that support meaning making, critical thinking, writing, and academic language practice. We want teachers to build positive relationships with and among our students to create the conditions for learning. And then around our leadership practices, really focusing on our school leadership, collaboratively developing distributed leadership structures that are focused on the academic, social, and emotional, physical health of students. We were able to kick off a professional development today with all of our administrators and our teacher coaches, and it was really successful in regards to the collaborativeness and folks finding it meaningful to start planning now in preparation for 23-24 in a collaborative setting. And then we want our school leaders to build capacity of individuals and teams to implement these systems. And then in summary, just emphasizing what our executive director, Jennifer Grava, mentioned around teams, times, and tiers, really developing our teams to build their capacity, making sure we're maximizing the use of our time with each other and with our instruction at various levels to support our students. And you can see the summaries there of what we want to be able to accomplish. So I want to thank you. And then thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
Through the chair.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation. Great data. Love these conversations. I just have a small comment around I'm going to call it a to-do, but not to-do, but an intention around speaking with African-American students, Black students about suspension. I think that's what you said. Yeah, general experience. And I would just suggest also, and I'm sure you're thinking about this, including families in that conversation as well, just to get a broader, more comprehensive conversation going around it. So that was one thing. And then for me, we've had lots of conversations here, so none of this discussion is surprising. But I was just trying to think, because I'm always like in solution mode, like, what's the solution? What's the solution? And for me, the area of belonging, while all these priorities are very important, the one around belonging is really calling to me, because that feels like an anchor to everything else, to academic health and achievement and success, to psychological, to mental, to all of that, to suspension, to absenteeism, and really like having that be the place where we go super, super deep. And I'm sure I'm not saying anything new to anyone in this room, but just wanted to call it out as something that I'm interested in. And particularly, like I said, really being strategic in that area. And then the last point I have here is a question and a point, but the data around belonging, was that from a survey, or is there any other like qualitative measures? Are there interviews also?
There have been interviews this
Okay.
year. It's not represented in this particular data set, but we have all been doing interviews with students, with teachers, with families, with staff members and staff members who live in the community, or staff members who also have children who go to school in the community. So there is that qualitative component as well. This is a student survey. It's semi-anonymous in that we don't necessarily have their particular data, but we can ensure that they completed the survey so that we could get those better results. And we can look at the survey disaggregated by gender, by special education status, by English learner, by ethnicity, so that we can really pull that apart, because I agree full-heartedly that we cannot get anywhere unless you feel emotionally, psychologically, and physically safe and secure. And so this screams at me as well, that these numbers will change. And we will do everything in our power to create a space where kids can feel that way. And we started with that today.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And I think the point around, the use of a survey versus interviews, which I'd be more, even though understanding interviews is a lot of work. I'd be the fan of interviews because then you can just see more of the nuance of like
Yeah.
what someone's talking about.
Yeah.
And I also think about the complexity of answering a question in a survey, like
Yeah.
on a particular scale and how
Right.
difficult it is even for myself. As a
Right.
grown adult, who's very old,
Yeah.
to like answer and fully represent my thoughts, via some metric on a survey versus verbally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, but just, thank you again for all this
Yeah,
data.
we know that data can be skewed by any day, but I did want to mention, we also shadowed students
Yeah.
and like saw through their eyes
Yeah.
too. And the interviews were so
That's good.
illuminating.
Yeah.
Where do you feel safe and what makes you feel safe there?
Mhm.
Like, what do people say? And kids continually reported that feeling seen and known by the adults around them was, paramount for them. And so
Yep.
creating opportunities for not just some adults to do that, but all adults to have those conversations, the time and space for it. Thank you.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? I will say just thank you so much for all of the work that you guys put in to make this presentation for us, to get the data in a chewable form. Is that the right word? For us, yeah, a bite-sized form for us to be able to see and hear and engage with. And I also just, I know we asked questions about the first two sections, and I just also want to call out, I'm just so excited that we have our leadership teams already set and they've already met. Just doing that work around recruitment, I know that that has been such a positive growth for us as a district, and I'm excited by it, and I'm excited for the changes that we'll see in the next year, based on just being able to convene together before the summer even starts. And I've had time to meet with and talk to a lot of the new principals and vice principals, and I know that they're ready. Right? Like they're already on our campuses with graduations and promotions, and they want to be part of our community. And so that's really exciting to see that, to feel that type of energy. And so I want to thank the team, the executive team. I know you guys did a lot of work to even interview, and you're still doing that work as well. So just thank you so much for that work that you guys have done, not just through this presentation, but every day for our students. Yeah, so I think with that, yes, great job. Thank you so much, team. All right, so we are going to move on to item number 13. Oh, wait, no, 12, the local accountability plan, the consideration to approve Ravenswood's 21-24 local accountability plan and federal addendum.
Yes, so we held a public hearing on June 8th for the LCAP, per the ed code there. And the LCAP is a 3-year plan that describes the goals, actions, services, and expenditures to support positive student outcomes that address state and local priorities. And Jennifer Grabham also touched upon that in part of the presentation. The LCAP provides an opportunity for local educational agencies like our district to share their stories of how, what, and why program services are selected to meet our needs. And so it is the recommendation for the board to approve our 21-24 LCAP.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments? Board, I will entertain a motion to approve Ravenswood's LCAP.
I'll make a motion to approve the LCAP for Ravenswood City School District.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. And we will move on now to item number 13, which is the consideration to approve the design for the community hub.
Good evening, trustees. Over the last 6 months, we've been working diligently with the Santel Foundation to reach a ground lease for the significant donation to the community hub, iterate on that feedback, work with their staff, our staff, a facility subcommittee to create initial design. 2 weeks ago, we were pleased to present the culmination of all that work, the preliminary design for the space. And during the meeting, which was structured around getting feedback, we got some good feedback. And we're pleased to report that we worked on implementing that. And in the design that's attached to the board packet, you can see some of the changes that we made specifically around shifting the health clinic to be more accessible to members of the community on site. With that, we were able to iterate on that design further with members of our facility subcommittee who met directly with folks from the Santel Foundation, gave some additional feedback on the design. We made a couple of adjustments, and I think it's in a good place. So tonight I'm asking the board to take a vote on approving the what we're calling the preliminary design. That will then sort of begin the more robust design process where we really get the space fully built. The Santel Foundation is going to spend, literally millions of dollars getting the designs done through DSA. We will then, staff will then approve those designs should they comply with the preliminary designs, and then construction would begin after that. With that, I'll conclude the presentation.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from the board regarding this design? No. Okay, as I see none, I will entertain a motion to approve the design of the community hub.
I'll make a motion to approve the design. I actually really like it. I like the improvements that were made given the recommendations from the board last time.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, motion carries 4-0. Thank you. All right, we are going to move on to item number 14, which is consideration to approve the 2023-2024 budget.
Hello, trustees. In case you forgot who I was, my name is Reese Matsumoto. I'm the Director of Finance. As you know, you've seen the budget at multiple points. I believe once in March, a couple weeks ago, earlier in June. And we're bringing the budget before you today for the official adoption for the 23-24 school year. Now, the budget that you have in front of you or looking at is basically the same one that was shown 2 weeks ago. However, after consulting the county, they've asked us to make a couple small changes in relation to our accruals and accounts payable. So, there's a very slight change, I believe, in the budget for next year, which we are still slated to run a deficit of approximately $3 million. And furthermore, there are a couple of resolutions attached to this as well. One of the most important parts of that is to allow us, the business office, to make budgetary transfers and transfers between funds at year-end close.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board regarding the budget and the attachments?
Through the chair, just thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much to the business office for putting this together, for all of your hard work on creating this and making the changes, especially because we are so transparent. There was just one little thing. So thank you for all of that. So I will entertain a motion to approve the budget. Item number 14.
I move to approve the budget.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye. All opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. And then we are going to move to item number 14A, which is the consideration to accept the charter schools 2023-2024 budget.
Hello again, trustees. So as you may know, we have an obligation to look over our charter schools. The charter schools, similar to us as a school district, are required by the county and state to submit financial documents for the next school year. After reviewing these documents, we do believe that our charter schools will be able to meet their financial obligations for next year.
Just want to add to that. Over the last couple of years, I think we've taken a stand of districts that live in glass houses probably shouldn't throw stones. I think our house isn't really glass anymore. And so I think over this cycle in particular, we've done more knowing that some of our charter schools are coming up for authorization in the next couple of years. We are not spending hours and hours and hours of our time going through every aspect of the budget. But this was the first cycle that I think we really started some meaningful engagement of, this doesn't totally make sense. Why is this like the way it is? So I think we're not just proud to sort of submit these to you, but I want to just highlight that especially our director of finance here has actually done a bit more pushing back on these budgets and pushing these budgets in a way that I just wanted to highlight as something I think we're a small shift, something I think we're proud of in this cycle. So not only presenting these to accept, which I hope that you do, but also just reflecting some of the hidden work that's happening behind the scenes. That will conclude the presentation.
Thank you. So on the agenda, I only see KIP's budget. I don't see the other one.
One of the many things about budgets that are important is that they're submit on time. And KIP did a very good job, I believe, submitting on time this year. EPACs did submit theirs, but it was after the deadline to upload. And so we'll upload that as part of the August board meeting because it was not submitted in sufficient time for public review.
Okay, thank you. So I will entertain a motion to accept the Charter School of KIP's budget for the 2023-2024 school year.
Make a motion to approve item 14A.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. All right. Thank you for all of the hard work. And we will move on to item number 15, which is the consideration to approve exclusive negotiating agreement with developer at 2120 Euclid Avenue.
Over the last several years, we have been exploring ways to have, I think the phrase that former trustee Polito used to use, stands on our own 2 feet. We've been exploring lots of ways of doing that. And we've taken a large number of actions to help think more strategically about how we use all of our facilities across our district, how do we make them all excellent. And we've taken a lot of action over the last couple of years, specifically to lease spaces that aren't being utilized as much as they could, whether that's the flood site, which has been vacant and abandoned for more or less 10 years. And which we actually get a bill every year from the state, which I got today, saying if you don't use your land, you pay 1% of the value of it. So we had to pay $7,000 to the state last year for not using flood effectively. 2120 Euclid, we are using. We're in it right now. It's not a space that we want to invest in long term. It's not a space that we think is being put to its best potential. And so the board took action, gosh, 2 or 3 years ago now to explore leasing this land and explore different options. For members of the public who may remember, we got very far down that process with a very competent, very professional developer out of New York, Madison, that proposed a life science project that ultimately, due to market conditions, did not make sense as proposed. Instead of waiting around for that deal to maybe come through, we were proactive. We took action as a district to read the room, think differently, explore different uses, and we went back out to bid. Fingers were a little crossed behind at least my back as we were looking at a pretty difficult time for real estate deals. But we were impressed and enthused by the significant amount of interest that we saw on this site. Interest that was comparable to the initial proposal that we did in much better economic times for real estate. We received a number of proposals over the last couple of months. We have worked to sharpen those proposals. We have worked very closely with the board in closed session, with our facilities subcommittee to explore these proposals in depth. We are not currently proposing or presenting all of the proposals we received because we're trying to get the best possible deal for our community. And we know, as before with Madison, that these deals could fall through. So tonight we're asking with not a significant amount of backup or comparison. We do have that. It was shared in closed session to help get the community the best deal possible. We're excited to present a deal with USA Properties for leasing this site. Over time, it would bring in significant amounts of revenue for the district. It is 100% affordable housing for about two buildings that'll have about 320 units across the two buildings. 300 to 400 units, about 450 units across the two buildings, excuse me. What we're asking the board to approve tonight is not the ground lease or anything that is binding, but rather a exclusive negotiating agreement, which outlines how we got here and gives staff direction to, over the summer, seek out a ground lease that'll largely look similar to the agreement we reached for the flood school site. But reach agreement, do some engagement, bring that agreement back to the board later in the summer. So if this deal makes sense, we can proceed with it with all due haste. With that, I'll conclude the presentation.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? We did have a lot of discussion, and so I just want to say thank you to Will and the team that we worked with to bring in the new proposals, to really think, to be thoughtful about how we can continue to fund the programs that we've started. Specifically being able to give our teachers raises, continue to push them up on that salary ladder, and to be a place that we can continue to recruit and retain while also offering robust programs for our students. So thank you for the work that you did. And then I will also just personally say I am happy to be able to bring affordable housing in both of the sites that we looked at, and to be able to continue to be a space where we're building community, not just in the school, but even outside of it. So I am excited about that. And I look forward to what the next few steps will be. So with that, is there any other questions or comments? No? Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve the exclusive negotiating agreement with USAA Properties.
I move to approve. Item 15.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All abstain? All right, motion carries 4-0. Thank you. All right, we are going to move on to item number 16, which is the provisional appointment procedure to fill a board vacancy.
Yes. Well, as Trustee Alexander presented to us at the last board meeting, she has retired and is in plans to relocate, which means her seat will become vacant about mid-August. And so this gives us ample time to prepare our board for the provisional appointment process. And so one of the first requests for the board to consider is deciding who would be on a subcommittee that would review applicants. We would review the applications for prospective candidates to fill the seat, to make sure that they are eligible. And so I would recommend the board to consider who would be on the subcommittee.
So I know Trustee Latu volunteered last time. Can we keep her on if she was not able to be here because of a family emergency? But so we have Trustee Latu, and then she also suggested Trustee Shibomaheen, but we did not want to say yes for you. So now that you are here, the question is, would you like to be the second person on that, or would you like to pass?
Sure. I think it's funny that she suggested, but where is she? Yeah, sure. I don't mind.
Okay, so we have Trustee Latu and Trustee Shibomaheen who will make up that subcommittee to review applications to ensure that applicants are eligible.
Correct. All right, so for item B, the opportunity here is for the board to have discussion around the process, giving direction around the application and considering the questions I shared with the trustees, sample application forms, in addition to determining timeline and what we want to consider the deadline to be to submit applications. And, also considering what to do if we have an X number of candidates who are interested in filling the vacancy, considering what our process will be to either consider interviewing all the candidates or having a process to reduce the number of candidates that we would interview. And so I can review with the board suggested timelines to consider before we even look at the application form, if that's what we would like to do first.
Why don't we look at the timeline and then we can look at the application form?
Okay. So tonight, June 22nd. Our next opportunity, if we do decide on timeline and what have you, is to promote and advertise that we have this vacancy and advertise, notifying the community of the vacancy and the application process. If we come to determination of timeline, application packet and all of that, we can do that on Monday, June 26th, and officially post it on our website and do social media blast and contact media. Then we would want to consider, and a suggestion is consider a timeline as of August 17th of when the applications would be due. And considering like a noontime, midday on 17th, that would give us Friday, August 18th and Monday, the 21st to review for the subcommittee to review the applicants to ensure that they meet criteria. If there are a handful of applicants, the recommendation is for all 5 of those applicants to be moved forward for the board to consider. We can then interview, discuss, decide, and appoint all in one public board meeting. We can do that at a regular board meeting or at a special board meeting. The next regular board meeting, that would potentially, where Trustee Alexander would not be present, is August 24th, September 14th, or September 28th, and we could schedule a special board meeting in between. So first, wanted to consider if August 17th timeline would be an option for the board to consider.
I think the August 17th timeline makes sense because then we have someone for the majority. We have a full board for the hopefully we'll have a full board for the majority of the rest of the fall semester. So, and I see everybody shaking their heads. So I will say that August 17th noon deadline. And I know that we're going to make sure that that deadline is posted clearly. So
Yes.
Just through the board, through the chair. Is noon a like standard time? Could it be end of workday?
It could be at the end of workday. There were samples from the county who had a board vacancy. There was another sample from another district within the county. I believe Burlingame recently is going through this process. They use a noon timeline.
Okay.
It does give the subcommittee
More time.
half day on the 17th, a full day on Friday, a full day on Monday before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we were trying to shoot for an August 24th regular board meeting interview.
I think we can keep it at noon. And then for the and I keep looking at you as well, Trustee Shibomaheen, because you're on the subcommittee to read. So that's why I also want to make sure we're good with the timeline. So for August 24th, I personally would prefer just doing it at a regular board meeting just because we already have something scheduled. I think that we do need to have the discussion. If there's more than a certain number, then maybe we do need a special public board meeting to interview all candidates. So my preference would be to do by noon, and then from that point, decide if we're doing it August 24th or if we're going to do a special board meeting after August 24th.
I have a suggestion too. If we find that we have an abundance amount of candidates, we could use August 24th as an opportunity for the board to review the applications, have the candidates come and make a personal statement, and then the board can determine which candidates would move forward for an official interview, if that happens. And so the subcommittee would potentially need to see how many candidates we get, how many applications meet the timeline. how many meet the criteria, and inform staff if if it's manageable to be able to do the interviews all on the 24th and make the announcement. We need to publicize in the board agenda. We need to indicate who is going to be interviewed. And if we can't make that determination before posting the agenda, then perhaps a solution is all the applicants come forward if they meet the criteria, and the board has a conversation about who will proceed to participate in the interview.
Through the chair, I have a question. I'm not mad at that idea. I'm wondering if we would need to, or how we communicate with applicants about the time and date of the interview in order to give them enough notice. So I'm wondering, like, on the application, should we also then be saying that you would have an interview and be available the evening of the 24th?
Yeah.
And possibly
Mhm.
whatever that next meeting is as well.
Yes.
Yes. If we were to do it, if we were to do it that way, are these dates fine then, the timeline, the 24th for the initial, whether it's a full interview and decision or just an intro and review? The 24th would be that, and then a possible special board meeting between. Or this, a possible special board meeting after the 24th would be the next week.
And that possible one being, oh, I'm sorry.
My same question.
Oh, yeah.
Is it only if we have abundance?
It's only if we have an abundance.
And through
And-
the chair, that would be when possibly? Just one of it, like,
Because it's also
the next week or the next
that's
2 weeks?
because it's Labor Day, so we have to
Mm.
be aware, right?
Yeah, and if we're not interviewing on the 24th and we're only taking personal statements, regardless, candidates need to know they need to be prepared to be present on the 24th. Then if we're only doing personal statements because there's a lot of candidates and we need to reduce the number, then we also need to let them know you will be eligible moving forward if you're able to participate in a special board meeting for the actual interview
Mhm.
as well. So at least we can say, make sure you were available on the 24th and then possible special board meeting to follow.
We could do a special board meeting on the 29th Tuesday. I know it's not our typical Thursday. It's just because Thursday is the 31st and that goes into the Labor Day weekend. Right, because Labor Day is on the 4th.
Mhm.
So if we wanted to do reserve the 28th and 29th, if that is one of those days, Monday or Tuesday, early on, because then that gives us time to, because we should know essentially by the end of day, the 17th, if we're going to need that special board meeting or not.
Mhm.
So, do we want to say the special board meeting date, like we can set it right now for August 29th Tuesday, or do you guys have a preferable Monday or Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday seems, through the chair, seems fine with my schedule. I keep looking at you.
Trustee Nunez or Vice President Nunez? Vice President Nunez, is Tuesday. Yes, August 29th. Wait, no, yeah,
Yes.
yes, August 29th. Okay,
So to confirm, August 24th and August 29th if necessary.
Yeah.
And we would place that on the application,
yes,
those dates. Okay. For the candidates to be available.
okay. Yes,
Okay.
and then, great. So now let's move to the application, since we've done the timeline.
I put together a couple versions of the application that we could use for candidates to complete. And they're taken from samples from the County Office of Education and another local district within San Mateo County. there's opportunity to be able to refine these questions, or if they suffice, we can move forward with these samples, one of the samples, or combine.
I know you have highlighted the 7. Can you commit to attending the following meetings in person? I would say yes, definitely include that.
Through the chair, are we looking at one particular one first or?
I'm looking at the provisional appointment application, the one that doesn't have
The smaller text,
the smaller text.
the 3-page.
Okay, I got it.
So the question is, do we want a longer one or a smaller one? Is that what the question is?
Well, I think it also has to do with font size and all of
Yeah.
that, but there's some more open-ended questions on the 2-pager.
Through the chair.
Yes.
On the longer one with 3-page, question number 1, just needs some tweaking in the way
Mhm.
that it's presented. So as not to be confusing. So it's asking like, have you served, describe, and then it's saying, if so, state dates. I just think there's a you could say, please describe, and it's ending with a question mark. So I just think it needs some
Which one? I'm
restructuring.
sorry.
The first
Question number 1 on the provisional appointment application, the 3-page one. It needs to be rewritten.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can write, please describe with,
Oh, yes. Okay.
instead of ending if so date served, we
Yeah.
might end up just getting the date served.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I just don't want it to be confusing for anyone.
Correct.
Maybe we can say, please describe any present or past civic affiliations or activities, including volunteer work and sports coaching with dates.
Mhm.
Make it easy.
With
Mhm.
dates. Okay.
And then take out the last. Well, before we start editing this, do we agree that we want to do the
Oh.
longer one?
I'm cool with the longer ones. Through the chair, I'm cool with the longer one, just, I'm thinking of this process like, as pseudo parallel to what you might go through if you were campaigning or, going to speak at different events. So I think the more information
The
that
better.
folks have, the
Yeah.
better.
Yes, I agree. I think that we just need to make sure that if we do the longer one, did we have that specific question about? Maybe I'm missing a page, but did we have a question about if they are eligible to vote?
There
Or,
is a separate form that
Okay,
I can have ready to have them indicate the different criteria they need to meet.
yeah, so we just have
Yes.
to make sure that need to meet criteria is
I have
on
that
this application.
Mhm.
Yes.
Because if they don't meet that minimum requirement, they can't serve on the board.
Correct.
Okay,
Through the chair,
yes.
I'd like to include from the second application, the first question, the why do you want to serve on the
Mhm.
board? That doesn't show up on the longer application. It just speaks to other things, but not a why.
Mhm.
So I'd like that question to be added.
Yeah, 2 is very similar, but I don't know if we want to rephrase 2.
Yeah, we could just rewrite too.
Says briefly explain your reason or interest in becoming a school board member and issue related to the district public education you feel
I'll take
strongest.
that.
about. Yeah, why don't we, can we,
I have a suggestion with that then. What if we take number 1 and number 2 from the other application and split number 2 here with number 1 and number 2? So the number 2 on the long
Mhm,
is a 2-part question.
okay,
Explain your interest in becoming a school board and an issue related to the district education, public education you feel strongest about.
mhm,
And then split that into 2 with the 2 questions from the short version, where it says, why do you want to serve on the Ravenswood School Board? And then the second would be, what do you believe are the most important issues confronting public education in Ravenswood City School District? So second question on the long one will be split into 2 questions from
yes.
the short version. Okay.
So That means maybe we should take away question number 5. What is the single most critical issue facing the district in the immediate future? Because if we're splitting it to
Yeah.
1 and 2, or we just make 2 Y and then 5.
Yeah.
Could we do
Yeah,
that?
we can do that.
Can we just make 2, why do you want to serve on Ravenswood City School District Board of Trustees, and then keep number 5?
Yes.
Does that make sense to you guys? Yes. Trustee,
So not doing question number 5?
we are doing question number 5.
Okay, because I was looking at question number 5 thinking that's one that we definitely should do.
Yes. So, yeah, so what I was saying is just make question number 2 only, why do you want to serve on the Ravenswood City School District Board of Trustees?
Yeah.
And then number 5, leave it as is.
Even though I'm not going to have much of a say in it, I do like the second half of the question, just the issue in public education in general that you feel strong about. Just because there's a lot of issues in public education in general that might not be directly related to Ravenswood. But as a public, well, I guess we should say community school board, but I get the California Teachers Association changed our name. But just because there are issues in public education across the country that might not be here yet, but might be coming. Just a thought. Make it 7 questions.
So maybe number 2 is we still say why. And then the second part is an issue. And instead of saying related to the district, we say public education.
Yeah.
Cross out district, but public
Yes.
education. Okay.
Yes. Okay. And we will get an edited version just to make
Yes.
sure. Okay. Before it's posted. Okay.
Through the chair, I'm
Yes.
wondering, I'm looking at it and I'm just wondering where do I get a sense of their values or how they represent communities they're serving or how they're going to prioritize, competing decisions or challenges or priorities. And I'm trying to figure out if I get that from these questions, if I get a sense from that, from these. If y'all think we do, great. I don't know that we do, and so I'm wondering if we should ask explicitly. I don't know, and I don't even know how to ask it exactly. But I think it could be interesting to understand how they navigate, difficult decisions and what it is they're prioritizing. Or how they view a position that is normally elected by the public, right? So there is some direct, concrete, explicit, like buy-in. But since that's absent in this case, like how are they representing that public?
Chair, I wonder if we use this application as an intro. And then we can incorporate an interview question.
Oh,
That's
you're right.
So that, because that's more like a scenario, right? I remember when I interviewed to be appointed, there was a lot of scenario questions. And
Nice.
so I wonder if we can bring some of those back and bring that idea into.
Through the chair, thank you. Forgot there was an interview.
Yep.
Okay.
Tons of questions for the interview.
Yes, I have sample interview questions. I can meet with each trustee and gather those to compile.
Okay. I do think that the personal, I think, remember I said maybe there was a short form. It's on the back of that other shorter. The second page, I think that page should just be
Yes,
the first page of this.
okay.
Excuse me. Okay.
Through the chair,
Yes.
if you make that page, the first page, I would take off number 1.
Mhm.
because it gets at the same idea of the experiences.
Or we can just take out experience.
Yeah, and have personal information, professional qualifications.
Yes. Got it. Yep. Right. I don't have any other questions or comments or edits. Are there any others? Mm. Once or twice.
Oh, through the chair. One more,
Yes.
sorry. While the text there is in red at the top, please return by noon. I'm wondering if there's a way to make it even more explicit. Maybe it's in the, wherever you're getting the application from, but I'm just thinking
Mhm.
about, okay, I'm just thinking of various scenarios.
Yes.
Like, oh, I emailed the contact at the bottom of the page and I was waiting for a response for some
Yeah.
reason. I would just like it to be very clear and concrete that noon is that is it, and it's not 12, it's
Yes.
7, it's noon.
Yes. So what's great about email is it does earmark when something is sent and received, and you don't necessarily need confirmation from the individual. In this case, it would be Maria Pineda who would be receiving these applications. The application will be available electronically on our website. It will also be, hard copies will be available in our district office with Maria Pineda. And we will make that very clear on our website and in our social media posts, as well as when you click on our website, you go to the link, we should have all of that very clear. Maybe we can explain and make it very explicit that the email needs to indicate that it was received. It was sent by noon, no later.
Yeah.
On the 17th.
Yes. So, and I think that just making
Make
it,
that language clear.
make the language clear and also just make it really like bigger. It's
Yeah.
not that big right now.
And through the chair, one more question, and the
Yes.
last.
No.
Oh, wondering about the interview again, and then obviously we have the directions that they would need to be available at the time and date when we're having the interviews, but then I'm recalling like the how. Are folks zooming in? Are they in person? And then also being explicit about that.
I would like to have in-person interviews because we are a board that meets in person now and we no longer meet on Zoom. So you would have to be available in person because if you serve on the board, you have to meet in person.
I
So-
agree.
So we should say interviews in person
I agree.
and service in person. Okay. Any other questions or comments from the board? Nope. Okay. No questions or comments. Correct. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Alexander, we are sad to see you go. Still, I'm going to say it every single time. So. And we will say it a little bit more, because you will be back August 10th.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, which is great. We are planning on it. So now let's move on to item number 17, which is board reports and communications.
Through the chair.
Yes.
The promotion ceremonies that I went to were just wonderful. It was so exciting to see students that, promoting that I remembered. This was after I taught my last class. So I was working as a TOSA when the current crop of middle schoolers promoted. And after promotion, having kids come up to me and tug me on the sleeve and saying, "Hey, Miss Alexander, you remember me?" Kids that I taught reading to when they were third, fourth, or fifth, third graders. Really special seeing the families all out. Again, congratulations to all our promoted children. So yeah, it was good ending to the school year.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun to go to all the, I went to a lot of the promotions. I didn't go to all of them, but I went to many and I was at every school site. So it was really great to just see, like Trustee Alexander said, how excited parents and families were just to celebrate their kids. And so, and even the students, I know that a lot of students were shy and maybe have never shaken someone's hand on a stage before. So I thought it was fun. It was fun to be up there. And Trustee Shabomaheen was also there. She just wasn't on stage. But it was a lot of fun. And I know that summer school has started, right, starts next week. So that's really exciting. And extended school year is also starting next week. So I know our campuses, kids will be at Castaño and at Los Robles, Ronald McNair. So it's going to be a full house. I'm sure when you drive by, you'll see all the kids out there playing, hopefully, and learning and having lots of fun. And if there's ice cream parties, please invite me. I'll be there. All right. Any other board reports, comments?
Actually, through the chair, just one additional thing. I'm really excited that my child will actually be teaching a class for our extended school year for the middle schoolers at the Los Robles Ronald McNair campus. So she's very excited to actually work with Ravenswood students. This has been on her vision board. Her life plan was to work with our students. And so it's very exciting seeing her finally coming into Ravenswood as an outside, I don't know, what do you call them? Contractor? Partner, as an outside partner with the Pear Theater. So it's also telling me that we are attracting new partners. It's been basically Boys and Girls Club. And so it's nice seeing new partners coming in as well.
Thank you so much. And one last thing I forgot about, East Palo Alto City Celebration is happening at the end of next week. So June 28th, Friday, there is I think they're calling it a gala or ball. I don't know. The tickets are on Eventbrite and through the city's website. There will also be a parade on Saturday, July 1st, picking up in multiple spots in East Palo Alto and walking all the way through for an event, I believe at Cooley Landing. Is that right? Yes. Yes. I think it's at Cooley Landing. Yes. Thank you. Cooley Landing. So please join the festivities. I know the city, they're going to be honoring a lot of the people who worked hard to make sure that our city was incorporated. And, you know, we have seen many of those people who have served on this board as well, who also serve on the city council. And so it's just something that it's exciting to be able to celebrate and to see this little city that people thought could. So, and did, and is. So it's just really great to be here and to be able to serve not just our community at large, but also the city and to celebrate the hard work of many organizers and community organizers and just people who have committed their life and time to our city's prosperity. So that's exciting. And I hope you guys can join us. I will move on, and I believe our mariachi band is going to be playing. Yes, so Ravenswood students will be there and represented in many shapes and forms. All right, so now we will move on to item number 18, which is the consideration to approve resolution 2022-2023 board member excused absence for trustee Latu. So I will entertain a motion to approve item number, or the resolution for board member absence.
Through the chair, I'll make a motion to approve item number 18.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And then I think we need to read the resolution. Or we can.
Resolution number 2022-2023, board members excuse absences. So on and so forth. Whereas education code.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Thank you. And with that, we're on to item number 19. The regular board meeting will be held on August 10th, 2023 at 6:30 PM, and open session will begin approximately at 7:15. And I will adjourn the meeting of the Ravenswood City School District at 9:34 PM.